Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, there we are. Okay, let's see who's here. 1 second. Okay, we're getting started. All right, cool. This is the very anticipated session. We're going to talk about influencer marketing. Influencer marketing is right down my alley. I actually organize the Influencer Marketing Conference and Expo, which is one of the largest, if not the largest, influencer marketing conference in the world. So I'm someone who lives, breathes, and excuse me, shits influencer marketing. And CJ, my lovely co-host, is one of the most intelligent people I've met that is actually implementing influencer marketing in the Shopify space. So we want to have a conversation about influencer marketing. How can you use influencer marketing as a sales channel, a marketing strategy, and essentially to your advantage in running a Shopify store? So this is going to be interesting. We're going to have a conversation, and I'm going to learn from CJ. I'm going to share some of the things that I've learned. I've worked with over, I think now 120 brands, and collectively they've spent over $11 million of influencer marketing that I've had some sort of input or decision making on. So I'm pretty well experienced when it comes to influencer marketing. One thing I know about influencer marketing is it can be used in just about any vertical. Any industry has what we call an influencer. And when we think of influencers, they're not traditionally, they're not limited to just what you think of traditional, like a celebrity. To me, everyone is an influencer, and everyone has a certain amount of influence. But let's talk about influence marketing from CJ's perspective. How would you define influence marketing, bro?
I'd say it's probably one of the longest used tactics in business. Period. Point blank. Because I mean, if you look at like Pepsi with Michael Jackson, like
Right.
these influencers before the internet came along, and they're doing the same thing that we're doing, pretty much. But we're just doing it online now.
Right. That's true.
Yeah, I think it's powerful. Those are one of the most powerful ways to bring in traffic and grow a brand and really carve out a niche for yourself in this digital hemisphere.
Right. Right. Why do you think it's so powerful? Why do you think influencer marketing works?
That's a very good question because it's boggled my mind to this day why people see famous people and how quick they are to emulate, follow, not ask any questions. And I think that has to go with the psychological factor of some way, somehow. But there's something about somebody like a celebrity or something like that that really just makes people just act. They act. If they, I think it takes down the safety zone almost. Like, sometimes if you never heard about something, or
Right.
at least in my opinion, you have a wall up almost to a degree, right? So that wall, you only can knock that wall down by people becoming familiar and more familiar and more familiar. And influencers
Right.
seem to make that wall just boom. You know what I mean? They knock the wall down right away. And for me, influencer marketing has been the back of my business for almost 3 years now, and to this day, I mean that's what I solely depend on. Almost like some drop shippers can wait on do Facebook. I solely depend on influencers just because I have a restricted product. So,
Right.
but it works wonders though.
So you have a restricted product, which means you have no choice but to use influencer marketing. And I think in another situation where I think someone has no choice but to use influencer marketing, well, you always have a choice. One of the best times to actually adapt or utilize influencer marketing is when you're getting started, right? Because typically your resources are more limited at that point. And in getting ready for this session, I actually watched some other sessions on how people explain influencer marketing, and people have actually been able to scale businesses very rapidly with influencer marketing, even with better returns than with Facebook ads in most
I believe
cases.
it. Well, let me pause right there because you know what? One piece about influencer marketing that is so great is that piece of content that's originally yours. So that piece of content is a digital piece of gold almost you can think of
Right.
because this piece of content can be used on Facebook, on
Hmm.
Pinterest, on all these different places that drive traffic. So I mean,
Right.
once again, with just with the first stream of income though, I mean, Yeah, I mean, you're blowing Facebook out the water sometimes with some of these influencers because their following is so huge,
Right,
instantaneous.
right, right.
Yeah.
So are there any? So tell us about your process with influencer marketing. Like, when did you start using influencers? You said you've been using influencer marketing for 3 years now.
Yeah.
Like, how was the first transaction with an influencer? How did you decide what
Ooh,
influencers to work with? How did
man,
you negotiate with them? Walk us through the process.
man, let me tell you this. One of the biggest lessons in growing my businesses has been to be able to step out my comfort zone in spending. Like, I know what $300 does. I know what $500 does, but spending that 2,000 or that 3,000 or that 5,000, those have been barriers. So the way I really first got on the influencer marketing was using meme pages, basically, just for general products and stuff like that when I was kind of in my drop shipping days. And
Right.
from there, what I learned is, you could spend just a little bit more and get an original piece of content from somebody with a blue check mark. And we all know that people with blue check marks on Instagram, that's like having God status in the cyber hemisphere, though. I mean, it's a little more diluted now than it was, back in 2000, 2018, 19-ish, you know what I mean? But,
Right.
back in 2017, 18, and so forth, the internet was a lot more, I don't know, freer than what it is now, because especially for
Restricted,
influencers,
yeah.
it's getting a little more. It's diluted is a great word to use for kind of influence. I mean, not to say that it's bad or nothing, but there's so many people upping their prices, and this is the thing that they do, and this is how they get paid by a lot of brands. The prices are a lot higher than what they were 2 years ago, but I guess that goes with anything, right? But you know, my first influencer that I did was, I don't know if you remember him, but he had all them tattoos all over his face, real crazy ass dude. His name was Boink or something like that. I think he goes by
Yeah.
John Gabba or something like that nowadays.
John Connor or whatever. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Crazy, something like that. But he was the first person that I had doing. I got it for like 1,500. But if you remember, it was at the time when he was super viral for doing all his videos. So he had a lot of eyes on him, and that's what I look for when I look for influencers. Is it's almost like trading stocks. It's knowing who's hot right now, whose name is in the news, who's popping, and you piggybacking off of being able to know where all the eyes are at. You know what I mean? So one day a person may have more value one day than the next day. They might value might be because no one's checking for them. So there's a lot of little variables that go into it. But I found him, just through a mutual contact, and it's been on ever since then, though. Straight
Right.
up.
So you found this influencer and you found him by DMing him, perhaps?
Well, actually, no. I had a friend of mine who was doing some scouting on Instagram, and he sent me the information. Said this is probably a good route for you right here, and I
Right.
followed him up on that. But typically, yeah, that's the influencer way. Is either you could DM him if you want, but usually they got a booking email, and we can get into all that whenever you're ready. But that's usually the main way. You can shoot a DM. A lot of people check those DMs, whether they say they answer them or not. But a lot of people see them, and if you say the right thing, paid promotion perks people's eyes and ears up at the same time, So
Right.
good chance of getting a response with the DM for sure.
So this guy had how many followers at the time?
Oh shit, he's probably in the hundreds of thousands, 200, 300, 400, hundreds of thousands, somewhere up there. I mean, the traffic is crazy when you run an influencer. You might have 500-600 people on your site at one time. It's one of those type of things. Yeah.
So was it a successful campaign?
Oh, for sure, 4 or 5 times over. Hell yeah. And
Right.
it wasn't even nothing scripted neither. What it was we threw the product to him and said, hey, we want something, we want a viral piece of content. And, that was his
Right.
whole main deal at the time was, he's doing crazy, out left field type of stuff. And sure
Right.
enough, people feed on that stuff. But yeah, for sure, it's successful. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Right in that shock value, that shock wave or whatever you want to call it. But I think one of the most important things is, and I want to tap into this with this example. How do you evaluate what's to pay an influencer once you make contact with them? Right. Clearly,
Yeah.
one of the best ways to reach an influencer, and we're talking about influencer marketing on different social media networks, right? Because I think it's different doing influencer marketing, say on Instagram versus YouTube, right? The approach is different. The mindset of even the influencers are different, and the restrictions on the platforms. Like, Instagram is more short form, where YouTube is more long form, and that helps
So,
with certain type of niches like beauty or whatever. But how do you determine how did you determine what to pay this guy when you did the first campaign? And do
ooh,
you
that's
think you overpaid or underpaid him?
no. I think I underpaid. That's why I was saying. Back then, the attention, the people were undervaluated. Like Gary Vee says, always buy the low attention. You know what I mean?
Right.
He was undervalued at that time, but uh, you know, I think now it's a little more expensive. If you're going for the bigger influencers, because nowadays they want it times 3 times over, but they're hip to the game though. You know what I mean? There's so many people in the hemisphere now compared to back then. But you know, one thing about to touch on what you're talking about with YouTube and Instagram. I think YouTube is a great place to always look for the influencers' information as well, though. Like if you can't find it on Instagram, it's good to search YouTube for that same influencer because they may have the contact information there, and then you can get a bundle package with a YouTube. And YouTube is good to be for SEO and just to have up there long standing. Especially in the background. So I always aim for package deals. So if I can find YouTube and Instagram, and I can look at their likes, but see, this is where it gets tricky, and this is where it would really fall in your lap with what you have created. Is that I'm looking through all his content for I'm thumbing through his stuff, looking at all the views. I'm actually hitting the views, seeing what the like ratio is. I'm looking at the followers icons to see if they're fake, if they're phony. So it's a hunch and it's a roll of the dice when you have to look at some of these nowadays because all this stuff can be fake. The followers, the engagement. If you don't know no better, and I've worked with some people that are pretty prominent names, and you'd be surprised their shit is fake as ever.
Right.
But I don't. I have to eyeball it basically to answer your question for sure.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that because I'm very actively involved in influencer marketing. I'll share some
Right.
numbers with everyone.
Yeah.
Every year, $10 billion is spent on influence marketing by brands of all sizes in different industries, right? And one of the biggest issues with influencer marketing is what we call influencer fraud, right? It's very easy for anyone to go out there and get an Instagram page and buy fake followers and deceive brands to give the perception that they have this large reach, right? And most uninformed brands or most entrepreneurs or most people that have a Shopify store or an online business in general understand that, it's a matter of reach, right? You want visibility, you want eyeballs. So when you go on Instagram and you're just scrolling along and you see Maya, blah, 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 2 million followers. Well, on the surface, it's 2 million followers, but when you dig a little deeper, it might really just be all fake followers. It could be as high as 90%, or in some cases, all fake followers. It's not uncommon, right? So if you're a brand that's not informed, right, and you're like, oh, wow, this person has 2 million followers, let's pay her $20,000, and that's cheaper than what it's going to cost us to reach 2 million people by Facebook. And, it looks like all the followers are men, and that's our target demographic. Well, you
Right.
just wasted money, right? So you mentioned about a tool. I developed a tool. Um, I'm not an engineer. I collaborated with some engineers to develop a tool, and we have a website. I don't have access to my MacBook right now. I'm doing this on my mobile. So you might want to do me a favor, CJ. Are you able to share your screen by any chance?
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do a rundown of how people can avoid being victims of influencer fraud, right? So the ways to do that is to take advantage of what's out there. There's several influencer marketing platforms that use, let's say, get too technical, artificial intelligence to assess someone's Instagram profile, YouTube profile, Twitter profile, even a TikTok profile, and can tell, you know, if they have a large amount of fake followers and can actually analyze their account, right? I call it a social media kit, right? So you're able to actually see what their true reach is. So in that example I gave of this hypothetical influencer that has 2 million followers, we're able to see if, is this audience the quality of audience we're looking for, right? And are they in the locations we're looking for, right? Because if I'm selling a product that maybe might be sexually provocative or whatever, and your followers are in a Arab country that is restrictive, right? No offense to anyone, that might not be your right ideal audience. You see what I'm saying? So you want to study an influencer more than just the numbers that you see, because these numbers are very deceptive.
Very,
Even the people that have celebrity status, right? Even
very.
inadvertently attract a lot of fake bots and fake followers, right? A lot of them, don't have an audience that has any purchasing power, right? And like you said, in some cases, you get better results from a meme page or just going outside of your comfort zone. Like I'm not an advocate of Twitter, right? It doesn't mean Twitter is not a powerful platform. So I've been studying how do people leverage Twitter for influencer marketing, and to my surprise, well, not to my surprise, but to my discovery, it's a very, very powerful platform for influencer marketing as well, right? YouTube is a powerful platform. Let me know when you can share your screen, bro.
It says I'm sharing right now. You see it?
Hold on one second. One second. I can see it right now. I'm gonna add you to the screen, and
You
then
know, I
we'll
might
be
need to put
good.
it back in.
No, you're
I,
no, you're
I,
good. You're good. You're
oh,
good. You're good.
damn.
Cool. So let me know when. Just go to that website, socialmediakit.me.
Socialmediakit.me.
.me. Yep. So that's the website that you guys can use to pretty much protect yourself from being screwed over by people that are trying to do influencer marketing fraud. And if you're someone that has a decent following, I tell everyone is a social media influencer. If you're on social media, you have influence, right? The amount of influence you have varies. It depends on how engaged you are. It depends on your reach. It depends on how a brand views you as a way to reach the target audience, right? So the most crucial part of influencer marketing, or one of the more effective parts of influencer marketing, is is what we call influencers, right? Micro influencers are people that the numbers vary from person to person. They in general consensus don't have a large, what you would call a large influencer marketing following, a large audience, right? They typically have less than 50,000 followers. Some people say it's below 100,000 followers. But we'll just say these people are not people that have made it big time. They're not people that have millions of followers, right? No matter what the yardstick you use to measure it. So, are you on social media, kit.me, bro?
Yeah. Did you see it?
Yeah. Could you mind going back there? So go scroll all the way up, please. So I'm gonna go through this website, and I think this is gonna be a very powerful website. I actually haven't launched this yet, so you guys are actually getting a preview of one of the projects I'm gonna be really, really bullish on in 2021. This allows people that have a social media profile that want to make money to have a tool that allows them to make money. So the same way brands should be concerned about fake following. If you have a real organic reach and you can show that as a report, brands are looking for you. What you're looking for is looking for you. You see what I'm saying? So this allows people to generate a complete social media analytics report. You're able to dive in and actually look at what's beneath those surface numbers, right? You can see this person has a large amount of following. You see where it says request a sample report? Do you mind clicking that real quick, CJ?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and just put any kind of generic information on there. It doesn't have to be yours. So that way we can get access to the report. So if you want to see a sample report, you can immediately access one. The website again is socialmediakit.me. I'm going to put it up on the banner right here. 1 second, TJ.
Yes, sir. This is one of a kind, though. There's nothing out there like this, though. This is the only thing of its kind, though, to my knowledge.
Well, there in fairness, there are other platforms that give you analytics like this, but they tend to be very expensive. That's the problem. You have to pay a couple $100 a month, and I thought that was a challenge for a lot of people. So
Yeah.
this right here is going to show the website on the screen, I believe.
Here it
Okay,
is
but
right here.
anyways, so that's the website right there, and so let me explain this. So in this example, this is an influencer named Darius. He's a comedian on social media. CJ, was considering using them for his brand. So I said, let me run a report for you. So it
Yeah.
shows you the influencer's picture, very basic stuff. And then it gives you a bunch of, basic data that, you need. But one of the most important things it tells you is their engagement rate. Because there's no point in having someone who has a large following and there's no engagement. That's usually the first indication of a phony account, right? You have 1 million followers, everyone knows they only have 2 comments. Come on, bro. Right? That's very unlikely they're real followers. And the algorithm also limits your reach. So if someone has 1 million followers, even if they were magically all real followers, it doesn't mean that 1 million people get the message, right? The algorithm, limits your reach because at the end of the day, Instagram is now an advertising network. You can do the research. They did over $20 billion in revenue from advertising in 2019 alone, right? YouTube did $5 billion last quarter in advertising revenue. These are major numbers. And the reason they're doing these numbers is not because they're relying on big corporations to advertise. It's because they've decentralized advertising and anyone can advertise, right? But they're also very restrictive. They don't allow people like TJ who sells a tobacco related product to sell through their channels, right? There's some issues that are going on with advertising with kids, there's the Federal Trade Commission that has all these advertising guidelines. So how do you navigate all this? And on top of that, not throw your money away to some phony influencer with a fake following. So what this does is for $47, you can actually order a report of anyone who has a public profile and see, if they have a real following. In this case, look, this guy has 16.205% suspicious accounts. Now, it doesn't mean that he has a bad account because I've seen way worse. But just knowing that allows you to at least have some numbers to negotiate with this influencer. We're going to go back and say, look, 16% of your accounts are suspicious. 23.15% of them are inactive. Let's take that off the top, right? Because, those blanks, right? We're not talking to anyone if we consider that. Your estimated reach is generally 10% of your authentic audience, right? So when you have these numbers and you're able to present this to even the influencer, you can use this as a negotiation tool. In some cases where an influencer might be asking you for $2,000 for a post, I've used this to reduce their that bill to as low as $300 because I tell them the reality. Like, look, this is what it is, right? Look at this report that we generated, right? Social media is a public domain, so anyone can access this data. But do they know how to? The answer is no. So traditionally, what would happen is, CJ, right? You would have to call the influencer and be like, "Can you send me screenshots from your analytics?" That could be manipulated. That could be compromised. They're trying to get money off you. They'll do anything, right? People fake, income statements to get into apartment buildings. You think they're not going to fake some analytics to get your money, right? I just paid an influencer $100 last week to do a test ad. Nothing happened out of it. As experienced as I am, because at the end of the day, right, it's you have to make a calculated guess. But tools like this allow you to make a more informed decision. So I think it's very important for people to check this out. And I think if you're someone who wants to, take advantage of your social media profile to start monetizing, this is a tool that you need as well. Other than that, if you're doing influencer marketing, you always have to watch out for influencer marketing fraud. It's a real thing, Another thing, CJ, we can talk about is how do you determine what platform you want your influencers on? How do you determine, do I want to go with someone who's on YouTube versus someone who's on Instagram, for example?
I find, personally, I think it's where you really, what platforms are you on? Is your business on? I try to always structure mine, mainly on Instagram, and then followed by Facebook being a quick second. YouTube usually is like my third, but I keep a presence across the board. But like I said, you want to, if you're going to run a YouTube influencer, it's best that you actually have a YouTube account with a couple videos up, all the information of how they can go to your website and all that stuff. But Instagram seems to be the main hub that, majority of, there's so many businesses that are built on Instagram, you know what I mean? Over businesses that are literally, real life businesses shipping, packing, sending, taking massive orders all on the heels of Instagram. So, if your business is solely on Instagram, it's probably better to look solely on Instagram for the influencer. But, all of it is opportunity in my eyes if the metrics line up.
Right. So have you done anything with Snapchat or TikTok or any of these other emerging
This
platforms
was
yet?
my first week of TikTok, and I burned through $100 in the snap of a fingers and the lukewarm results. But Snapchat, no, but YouTube definitely, Instagram, of course. What I'm seeing now with Facebook, if you can dial in the correct deal with influencers on Facebook, you can run ads from the influencers page, with
Right.
the shout out on there as well, and drive traffic like that too. So I mean, there's a lot of ways, to utilize an influencer, and then, like
Yeah,
like
let's
just
talk
with the,
about that. I like what
yes,
you
sir.
mentioned there. That's called, yeah, that strategy is a very powerful strategy. It's called whitelisting. So how
Yeah,
that strategy works is, let's say TJ, let's assume TJ is this big time rapper with 10 million followers, right? And I want to advertise on his channel, on his Instagram profile, or his Facebook account, right? Um, there are two ways we can go about it. Let's say we reach some terms, and TJ goes, you know what? Send me $10,000 and I'll do a post for you, right? And I'll do a bunch of stories or whatever. I'm satisfied with that. Well, the way for you as an advertiser, right, or a brand, or even a Shopify store owner or whatever, to really stretch that advertising dollar, right? In my experience, is to actually do what we call whitelisting. And what that is you have admin access to the influencer's profile, and you're able to actually do sponsor posts
that's huge.
on their profile, but it's on your dime. You're the one paying for it.
That's huge.
What that does is that actually reduces your CPM costs significantly and increases the reach, right? And from the audience's perspective, when they see TJ, this famous rapper, right, and it says sponsored and it's your product, they react better, right? It doesn't. Back in the day, people used to give rappers a lot of problem for what they call selling out, right? You're selling out. You're selling all these products. MC Hammer, we don't want you pushing no toys. You know what I
The
mean?
MC Hammer, boy, to this day, they still don't let MC Hammer live that stuff down.
They didn't let MC Hammer live. You know what I mean? but now it's very common. Like every celebrity, a significant source of their income stream is using influencer marketing. Like someone like Musa Kasim, Ronaldo, the soccer player, he made $48 million last year from influencer marketing. You know what I mean? I've done deals, influence marketing deals with Floyd Mayweather, DJ Khaled. I mean, I've personally written a check to Floyd Mayweather for over $200,000 for one post, right? So these guys make significant money, from influencer marketing. But the reality is, why do people pay them that much money? It's because they're getting a return on that money, right? Because the reach that they have is significant, right? You
Yeah,
know, like someone like Champ. Champ has about 30 million followers on Instagram. Even if half of those were fake, that's still a big, big reach, right? So compared to now let's compare influencer marketing to paid ads, right? Let's look at the pros and cons. If I'm doing only Facebook ads, everyone knows in this, drop shipping journey, one of the biggest hurdles is dealing with Facebook business managers getting shut down. So if you're someone who's been doing influencer marketing, well, that doesn't stop your show. You keep the wheels turning, so to speak, right? Because you have that channel, active and engaged. But if you rely exclusively on Facebook ads, right, and we're dealing with the fourth quarter rate spike, we're
oh, yep,
dealing with, we're dealing with all these restrictions, or we can't use hashtags, or we can't promote this type of product, so we're changing this policy, and we're going to suspend your account. You don't even know what the fuck's going on. Excuse my French, right? I think
right.
one of the most important things is, influencer marketing doesn't have that type of issue, because essentially what you're doing is you're communicating with a human being, right? You're talking to someone and saying, look, I have a business. I'm trying to sell this, massage gun or whatever the case is. I'm going to send you a sample. People appreciate that, right? In some cases, that's good enough to get it done. And influencer marketing has been very, very, very successful. Like I think I see Elle in the comments. She said they offered Drake $500,000 last night and he passed. Right? I'll show you guys deals where I've had clients offer LeBron James $250,000 for a post, and there's like LeBron just wants to focus on basketball. So even when you have the money to spend, finding the influencer to say yes is a challenge, because it's a proven channel, right? Because if that influencer says yes and it's the right influencer, and it's the right product, oh man, it could just be the difference between you and the next level, right? The Kardashians are very relevant because of influencer marketing, right? So influence marketing is a really, really big deal, and it's a newer concept. So people are still trying to figure out what the best practices are, right? What are the do's and don'ts, right? So is there anything else you want to share in your experience on doing influencer marketing so far, TJ?
Definitely. I think, you turned me on to something that's powerful too, is the having the macro influencer with the micro influencers. Because, we didn't touch on,
Right.
the micro influencers, because there's a lot of power in those people that you see that might just have 500 followers, 5,000 followers. They can create content for you for exchange of the product most of the time. Most of the time, if you just need some content to make your brand stand out or be validated, they're the greatest people in the world to send that to. And one thing I always include on any of my shops is an app called VWA. And what VWA does is it allows other people to sign up as influencers for your brand. So it could be John and Billy and Mark way out in the middle of nowhere. If they're going to spend their time and advertise and repost and share your stuff, it allows them to sign up, get a promo code or referral link, and you pay them the commission, whatever you want to set it at, 5%, 10%. I find 15% is probably the best line to really keep people moving, to keep them encouraged. But, the micro influencers are very, very powerful too. And like you told me with the macro, combining the macro on top and lock and load, and man, there's so many powerful techniques. I think influencer
Right.
is vital for any business. So to say, just to cut it short and leave it at that, I'd say every business, if you've got a product, you should definitely look into some sort of influencer marketing somehow.
Yeah, let's talk about a real life realistic scenario, right? Let's say I'm starting a Shopify store. I go on AliExpress. I get this, this is a massage gun. It's
And that's
funny
made
because
millions. That's made millions and millions of dollars right there for
this
sure.
product right here, are you kidding me?
Yeah,
This
that's
is this is
certified.
a miracle. So this
Yeah,
product, someone sent me this product. It cost $43, and they ordered it 2 days ago, and I received it 2 days later. Right?
right.
It was shipped out of California. So, and it was on Ali. I'm trying to put this by the camera. It was an AliExpress, right? And it cost $43, and people
Right.
sell this for $99 a day, right? Because the main massage gun is a company called Theragun that sells theirs for what, 450. So the perceived value of this item is in the hundreds of dollars. But the reality is you can purchase this product for $43 on AliExpress.
Right.
And I can order it to you, or you can go on my website and purchase it, right? And let's say I sell it for $99 and the rest is all profit. We know how that game works. But let's say I wanted to start selling this massage gun and I wanted to utilize influencers versus Facebook ads, or I wanted to use influencer marketing and Facebook ads. Well, one of the easiest ways to actually do that is because it's such a cheap product, right? Is I will identify what influencers I want to work with, right? And just tell them I would like to send you a gift, right? Some of these influencers have, their addresses and, on their profiles or how to reach them on their profiles. But
Box.
you can hire a virtual assistant to give you a list of these micro influencers. Let's say I wanted to spend $1,000 on advertising. I would order about 10 of these to the right influencers, right? And when they receive it, right, I'll ask for them to show a video of them unboxing it, right? That's a very, very, very crucial part of the whole equation. Because when you unbox it, right, it comes in this little nice box right here. People are able to get a vibe of what it is. They start essentially subconsciously touching the product, right, through this
Right.
influencer. That's how powerful of a medium it is. Now,
Right.
if it's on YouTube where they have no restriction on time or whatever, they're able to actually show the unpacking with more detail. But with with Instagram, we're trying to keep this under a minute or whatever the case may be, or 15 seconds for a story. A simple at the massage gun company could change the trajectory of your business, man. And all
Huge.
you did was just spend $40 to send this to, some influencer with 1 million followers or 100,000 followers. And all of a sudden, people are going on your page and saying, wow, I want to buy that. And this is something that could be done in a matter of days, right? So let's say, for example, you decided you wanted to join the e-commerce partners program. Well, the program is at a point right now where we can get your website live in 48 hours, right? When we started, we were trying to get our crap together. Now things are really flowing. We have momentum.
Yeah.
So we make your website, you have these guns, you have reviews that are from people that have actually ordered this, right? You have a nice video, you have a real beautiful looking website, right? Now you tell a couple of friends and family, you order a bunch of samples to influencers. Like I said, we ordered 10 of them. Now we have $430, right? You spend $2,000 to get in the program. You have an actual business, right? Guess what? You're giving a chance and opportunity to win, right? 10 influencers at this product. Do you know how many orders you could receive potentially from that?
Huge.
Now, if you were just
really
doing
that, though. I think that's one thing that goes understood. What the power of one of those influencers really can generate on that small $49,
investment.
Play.
Right. Tell us some of the results you've had in some of your campaigns.
Shit, 5, 10, 15 times over. I know it sounds ridiculous, but man, the power of it is you got to think, especially when you buy a post. When you buy a post, usually you buy it for 24 hours or 48 hours. So the trajectory of the post, usually the lifespan is like first 12 hours. It's hot.
It's more powerful, yeah.
It kind of dulls down within 24 hours. But man, within that 24-hour window right there, man, it's crazy. Insane crazy. Like
you get this huge rush of traffic. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can check my page and you can see all that stuff. I mean, like I said, you got what store do you know in the mall has 600 people in it at one time, unless it's Black Friday, right? This is a normal everyday promo when you run it, that you got 600-700 people in your store, 80 people with the cart open, whatever it may be. You know what I mean? It's so powerful because the website allows you to have infinite amount of people on it. So at any given time, that's how you're catching people in other countries. They're catching it later on in the day, so forth, so forth. I mean, the reach is huge,
Right. And when you have that content, that user generated content from that influencer, right? You take that piece of content, you can always repurpose the content and use it later, right? So, you have this famous rapper or famous influencer or famous gamer or whatever it is that has endorsed your product, right? You ate, and they're like, "Oh, we're only going to keep it on the page for 24 hours." Well, that's fine, because you can insist that you have the right or the ability to reuse that content later, and it still has the same impact, right?
Well,
you're able. You
could go to a blog page, or you can go to a meme page that this famous person is popping, and you just drop it in the pot right there, and then bam, it's the whole thing all over again.
Right? So.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the reason I was bringing that up is you want to consider that when an influencer gives you a price and you're like, oh, well, they want all this money. Well, think about the value of the content. Think about the value of their reach. Think about the power of their network, right? Think about the fact that, there's something called endorsement. They just essentially give you an endorsement, right? And what you do with that is up to you, right? But it's very powerful. Unlike the reverse, where Facebook, people talk about Facebook ads and Facebook ads. Yes, it's changed lives, but Facebook, these corporations are not really, their hands are not clean, right? Apple is paying $103 million for slowing down the iPhone, right? Facebook has been investigated for advertising fraud. There are people that, pay money to Facebook for advertising, and they just tell you, yeah, we serve the ads, right? I always suspected that shit. And now it's coming to light. You know what I'm saying? People are saying, well,
that's crazy.
There's evidence of internal practices within Facebook where there's evidence of fraud that's been investigated. So it's not really the most reliable, sustainable channel. It's impactful, it's powerful, it works. But what you can't control is influencer marketing, because no one can stop a human being's ability to negotiate with another human being. Do you see what I'm saying? So if I have $300, my reach on Facebook is only as good as what Facebook determines it is. But if I have $300 to launch this product, right? Influencer marketing allows me to stretch that money much, much longer, right? And the ceiling is a lot higher, right? There's only so many ads you can serve for $300, because your CPM is what it is. Your cost per thousand, it's what it is. You know what I mean? You can't change that with a certain vertical. Like you might be able to stretch it, but let's say, for example, I went to high school with a famous soccer player or a famous football player, and I'm like, hey, listen, man, I'm trying to get myself together. I'm trying to get this off the ground. Like, do you mind sharing this on your Instagram page? Look out for me, and they decide to do that. I mean, what price value can you give that? That's it's priceless. You know what I mean?
Right.
But ultimately, what that strategy is still influence marketing. So that's influence marketing to me is one of the biggest things that you can use to say one of the biggest strategies you can use to take your sales numbers to skyrocket level, right? And I realize a lot of people believe in Facebook ads, and a lot of people have been very successful with even Google ads, but there are pros and cons with everything, including influencer marketing. But to just abandon a sales channel because you're not familiar with it is a disservice to yourself and your brand at the end of the day. So one of the good things that we do in this program is we have weekly sessions like this where we actually dive into these topics, where people like myself and CJ, Audrey, and others that have joined us um, are able to share our actual experience with you guys, right? And if you are on the fence about joining the program, I'm going to spend the next couple of seconds explaining why you should join the program, right? So what we built over the last couple of months, 2 months or less, is I think one of the most affordable, most effective e-commerce accelerators out there, right? We now have the ability to launch your website in 48 hours. So instead of just sitting here talking about all these people making money, you get to have skin in the game, right? Now, a lot of people don't understand the ABCs or the fundamentals of or what it takes to have a profitable online business. So what we do is we partner up with you because one thing I'll tell you, with or without experience is going to cost you some money, right? And the money is going to be spent on advertising. Now, what you do with every dollar of advertising is based off your experience, right? If you're inexperienced, you're going to waste that dollar. If you experience, that dollar can turn into $10, that $10 could turn into $100, that $100 could turn into $1,000. You get my drift? So what we do is we give you a higher chance or probability of being successful because we partner up with you to manage that Shopify store. We're able to have a stake in that store, just like you have a stake in that store. So your return on that ad spend, our responsibility is to maximize that. And how do we do that? We use influencer marketing. We do Google ads. We do Facebook ads. We utilize our own existing data. We use email marketing, every strategy that we can. Because if we don't make that dollar, we both don't have a functional relationship, right? So we have an incentive to turn that dollar into the maximum that we can, right? So that we can both break bread. And so that done for you approach is very, very powerful because a lot of people do Shopify and they just it's trial and error and they're paying $29 a month to Shopify and they get frustrated and they go, this stuff doesn't work. It works. TJ's proof that it works, right? TJ makes seven figures sometimes, he makes six figures sometimes in a month, right? One 9 to 5 is going to do that for you, right? Let's talk about fourth quarter and what kind of numbers you did last year, right? I know you don't like to talk about it, but this guy did over $200,000 in sales last December.
Praise God, though.
And 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 his main strategy, like he revealed, was influencer marketing, right? He's not able to run Facebook ads. So imagine if he never utilized influencer marketing, his business might not even exist. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's one of those things where you really got to pay attention to what we're doing here. And this is not a place where, we care about how many people watch this or how many likes or comments we have. It's only a chosen few. This is a mastermind. So it's a long-term marathon. We're all going to be supportive in each other's businesses. We're going to share tips, pros and cons. We're going to discuss them. And at the end of the day, the most important thing is to build successful brands from scratch, right? And these conversations are very, very essential to that because someone might have discovered social media kicked off me tonight, or someone might have said, "Oh, you know what? I'm going all in on Facebook ads," and now they're reconsidering. You know what? Maybe I should diversify. Maybe I should spend 30% on Instagram ads, 30% on influencer marketing, and 30% on Google ads, and 10% on other, right? And compare that to someone who goes in and spends 100% on Facebook ads. And I'll bet you 9 out of 10 times, unless you're exceptionally good at Facebook ads, the person who's doing that that blended approach is going to do better because they're diversifying their risk, right? they're spreading the risk. If one channel goes bad on them, the other channels are open, right? The momentum keeps going. So that's pretty much, my take on influencer marketing. I don't know if there's anything else you want to touch on, TJ, or if anyone has any questions. I don't see any questions in the comments,
I think the
but
last I would touch on, if you don't mind me touching on it, is
please do.
just touching on what you're talking about. With Facebook, you can still influencer is going to give you the piece of content to let you run Facebook ads.
For
So you
sure.
can have like a strategy.
More productive Facebook ads, exactly. Yeah.
Your Facebook ads will convert way better with better content that is yours compared to the drop shipping. It's taking what's online and repurposing it, finding it on YouTube, cutting it up to satisfy your business. You having that legit piece of content is once again digital gold. And that stuff can be used once again, repurposed 3 years, 4 or 5 years down the road. So I highly encourage anybody that is watching this to use that as a strategy for your Facebook ads to get that piece of content and use that on Facebook like that.
Yeah, and that's a good point. That's a good point. And one of the things that, in summary, we talked about is having access to good analytics. So if anyone here is actually very, very serious about doing influencer marketing, please reach out to me. I'm on Instagram, Ishmaeli. My influencer marketing conference is the largest influencer marketing conference at this point in the world. You can check it out for yourself. It's influencermarketingexpo.com. We have a huge library. We've done 4 events, 2 at the LA Convention Center. We've had over 200 speakers from, people that work for the feds, the Federal Trade Commission. We've had the head of Triller. We've had huge influencers participate. So that in itself is gold, because there's a lot of content that you can learn from people that are in the field with influencer marketing. And if you're part of the program, you actually have access to all that content. So that in itself is additional value and another reason why you should consider joining this program. And just so you guys know, the pricing will be going up significantly in 2021. So we still have availability for a few people. And if you join this month of November as a VIP partner, we have a special where we give you a PS5. I have one that I'm shipping out to a gentleman named Gunner out of Utah, who just joined last week. And I'm a man of my word. There might be a delay or whatever, but I'll always communicate and do whatever I say I'll do. So if you know anyone else that joins, let me know, because if they don't claim the PS, you can, or we can work out some sort of compensation for you as well. Because at the moment we have 39 people in the program, and my goal is to keep it at 40. So we're almost there, right? And out of the 40 people in the program, I would say 95% of them have already started doing ads and doing test ads. So we want to keep everyone moving along. If you're falling behind, just reach out to myself or someone on the team like Erol or other staff members, and we'll make sure that, we keep you moving along. One of the good things about this program is you don't have to feel like, oh, this is too much for me, because the whole thing is we do all the heavy lifting for you, right? The only thing is we also give you an opportunity, which I think is very crucial, to learn these very vital skill sets, right? We want to be able to give you an opportunity to learn how to do Facebook ads. We don't expect you to be an expert from 2 weeks of training, but we expect you to know a lot more than someone who hasn't invested in any training, right? This conversation we're having about influencer marketing, you can always go back and watch it, right? Or I'm sure some of you have taken mental or physical notes that will impact your business more than someone who hasn't had access to this content. So these masterminds are very, very powerful. And don't feel for 1 second that this information is irrelevant. It's very, very relevant. And I think that, one of the things that I always tell TJ off record is how grateful I am of his time. So TJ, I really want to say that again, man. Thank you so much for your time today. And, thank you for all you do for this program. And I want to wish you guys all a happy Thanksgiving. Be safe out there with this COVID pandemic and all this madness going on. Reach out to your loved ones, and we'll get right to it. Everyone, Black Friday is coming up. You know what I mean? Pay attention to the numbers. If we don't catch the wave this year, we'll be back next year, right? But the good thing about the internet, right, is even after Black Friday, billions of dollars are still going to be spent online. So don't be discouraged that, you're not, making all this money on Black Friday. The internet is not a one-day affair. It's 365, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, right? Just put yourself in a position to make money from it. And that's why we started this program, to put people in position. CJ, you want to talk to him?
So if you don't get it this year, make sure you're there next year for sure, because the next 3 months are huge. It's not just Black Friday and Cyber Monday. I mean, the next 3 months are powerful, powerful, powerful. Wealth is created in volumes once again in these next 3 months. So if you don't get it this year, let that be a motivator for next year. But he's right, yeah, all the time. But Ish, I salute you again for what you're doing and what you put together, because you did this and I've watched you from the start, man. I think it's a beautiful thing that you got going, and just increasing the awareness of the possibilities, with the digital hemisphere, just to be able to live and breathe in a whole nother feng shui, you know what I mean, is a blessing. So I thank you again for what you put together, man, and allowing me to get down with you.
Man, I appreciate you, man. We do this for people that want to do better, right?
Thanks.
And I appreciate everyone who's here tonight, because at the end of the day, right, I always tell people myself, I ain't no damn e-commerce guru, right? I'll take claim to be an influencer marketing expert, but even that, I'm not a guru at it, right? So I think one of the good things about this program is we're humble people. Everyone here is trying to learn, right? And when you're trying to learn, when you seek knowledge, knowledge seeks you, because knowledge is powerful, right? So remember, at the end of the day, if any of this seems like it's too much, or I don't understand what is a CPM, what are they talking about, that means you're learning. That means you're learning, and that's a beautiful thing. You're curious. Your brain is going into waves and lanes that it's never been into. You're diving into this marketing, and that's the process, right? So enjoy that journey, enjoy that difficulty in not understanding what's going on. But rest assured that if you're in the program, you're still in the position to monetize, because you have a store that could still be generating money, right? So at the end of the day, you guys should clap for yourselves for taking that step to pursuing that additional income stream online. So thank you so much tonight for joining the e-commerce partners, and I look forward to catching up with you guys for the rest of the journey. Peace.